Hi everybody, I'm Scott Bino, Vice President of Marketing for North America here at Crawford Company. And today on Crawford Chat, I'm very honored and humbled to welcome Rohit Verma. Rohit is the President and CEO of Crawford Company. Rohit, thanks so much for joining me today.
Scott, thank you for having me. It's a little bit like one of those celebrity shows that if you don't make it to this show, you don't feel like you're anybody. So I have been eagerly waiting for this invite, and I must admit that it's taken you too long to get me on here.
Listen, you've got a lot of roadblocks we got to get through. You've got a busy schedule.
That's
You've got
right.
a calendar we've got to work through. And if there's any moment in your career as CEO here, this should be the point of validation for you.
Oh, thank you.
That you've made
That
it.
I've made it to your show, absolutely. When I was interviewing for the role and finally made it, I was not so glad about getting the CEO role as how glad I was that I would one day then make it to your show.
Yeah, and when you were interviewing for that role, the show didn't exist, so you knew.
I knew. I had the foresight.
You had the foresight that
That's
there
right.
one day would be a show where
That's
that you
right.
could. Okay, so here you are.
Yep,
You made
and
it.
here I am. I made
listen,
it.
let me be the first to congratulate you.
Oh, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
Rohit, I have some very serious, hard-hitting questions for you today. But before we get into any of those questions, as a global president and CEO, what is your job? What do you do?
My job is really twofold. One is to make sure that on my team, I have the right people doing the right things, right? That's one. And then second is that for everybody in an organization, I'm taking out obstacles for them to really be their absolute best. And that's really, I view my job to be.
I love that. I love that. So let's talk about some of that journey, right, and how you got here. Can you tell us about some of the moments, big or small, that brought you to this point and that had maybe shaped your perspective as a leader?
Look, I've always been ambitious, and I would say that what has shaped me as a leader has been so many micro learnings that I've had over the course of my career, observing leaders. I've been very fortunate to work with a number of leaders. I've been very fortunate to have a career in consulting, which exposed me to many different kinds of leaders. And every time I observed a leader, I have sort of said to myself, if I were a leader, is this what I would do? I've also had a chance not only to work with a leader, but also work with their teams and get a viewpoint of how does that leader behave and what's the impact that that leader has on its employees. I've come up with this thing called cognitive harmony. And what cognitive harmony for me is that what I think, what I say, and what I do are all in harmony. And I believe that for me, that is the most important thing as a leader, where I have seen leaders who think one thing, say one thing, and do the other thing. And as much as they believe that they are this perfect chameleon where they can change themselves and adapt themselves, their team sees through that. And when their team sees through that, they lose that followership. And any leader is a leader only if he or she has followers. Otherwise, it's just a leader on a random walk, right, where people are around them. So I believe that followership is extremely important, and followership comes from having this sort of cognitive harmony, where you may not always be most popular in your viewpoint, you may not always be exactly aligned with your team on your viewpoint, but at least everybody in your team knows this is where you stand.
I love that answer, and it's a nice segue actually into my next question. And it's about culture, because I think that leadership and sort of how you articulated that a lot, there's culture kind of underlying that. So when you think about the culture at Crawford today, what are you most proud of? And are there any moments over the last few years where there's sort of these cultural milestones or points where you've seen a shift and a change?
Yeah. Look, I think our culture is not where I want it to be yet. Doesn't mean we have not made progress. When I think about culture, I think about it in the framework of what are our values? From those values, what are the behaviors that we should have? And based on those behaviors, what is the experience that we create for our employees as well as our customers? Things that are important to me from behavior standpoint are being respectful to each other, empowering our people to make sure that they can make the right calls, the right decisions for our people, as well as our colleagues, as well as customers. And then finally having a growth mindset, right, which is really believing that people can do whatever they set their mind to do. Those are three things that are extremely important to me, and for me, those shape the culture. I think we are doing better on empowerment, we're doing better on growth mindset, we're doing better on respect, but are we where we need to be across every aspect of those three things, across every aspect of our business, our people? I don't think so. And I think some of that is related to that we've had a long history or long legacy of command and control. By the way, not just us, as as business world in general. So that's a transition. I think there are a lot of people who've done or who've worked this way for 20, 30, sometimes 35 plus years and felt like it's been effective for them. So it's one of those things that I know this is how I've done it. Do I really want to leave it and go to something that is fairly new to me? So I think those are aspects that we still have to work on from a culture perspective.
Yeah, and let's talk about behaviors, right? So, and I think it's sort of this nice kind of evolution of this conversation, right? And so I think culture is something that hopefully we can share collectively as an organization. The behaviors kind of bring that culture to life. It's how we act. Are there any behaviors or a particular behavior that you try and model every day?
I think for me, the behavior that I try to model every day is growth mindset. A behavior that I try to model every day is empowerment. Certainly respect is something that comes from culturally where I grew or how I grew up. So I try to model those things. I think the other piece about our culture is, client centricity. I do think that is probably the area that we've made the most progress in. I do think that we're thinking about the clients. In fact, our Pulse survey shows that 90% plus people believe that we are client focused or client centric now. So that's, I think, as I reflect on it, that's probably one area that we've made the most progress in.
That's great. And this is somewhat related, but it could be a slight pivot in talking about people and how our people are sort of adapting and changing. Let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
And I know people talk about AI ad nauseum. I know you're probably, you've had a million questions about AI. We've talked about it quite a bit. Sometimes there's this thought that there's this, AI is going to replace jobs or change jobs. But let's take a different route and let's talk about how do you see AI empowering people to do different things or more valuable things?
Yeah. So I think the biggest benefit of AI that we should see is that inherently, right? If you take a population, and let's just take a population of marketing people, or you take a population of adjusters, or you take a population of finance people, there's a sort of normal distribution, right? Normal distribution is you'll have people who are really, really great, then you have a big majority which is good, and then you have some tail which is not so great, right? That is called a normalized distribution curve. I believe that AI has the capability of flattening that curve. And what I mean by that is not by flattening the curve by taking the people that are really great, moving them down. It's by taking the people who are not so great and moving them up. Or it's taking the people who are great and then making them consistently great. So I think AI will really help us sort of close that competency gap. And that's what I believe its greatest power is going to be. I mean, think about it. Someone may say that they're not a good writer, right? Today they can use Copilot or ChatGPT and make something that they write which is average really, really good with the help of ChatGPT, right? They could have great thoughts, but they may not have the ability to articulate those thoughts in the best form of words, whether that is because they don't have command over the language that they're trying to express themselves in, or it could be that's just a natural place where they have a deficiency in their thought process. And AI can help sort of normalize that. So that's where I see AI will have the biggest impact.
Great. Let's pivot completely outside of work now for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to take you on a roller coaster ride here.
Sure.
So,
I love roller coasters.
I don't. I get.
Well, you're the one taking me.
I'm taking you, but yeah, I'm the operator. You're on the roller. I'm not on the roller coaster.
That's right.
I want to understand you a little bit more. So, in terms of what keeps you inspired or grounded, do you have any personal passions that you practice or that you participate in outside of work that help keep you focused?
What keeps me inspired is interactions like these, right? What keeps me inspired is every time I go sit with a client and they have they're trying to solve something, they have a problem, or it's a problem that I want to solve, right? Which is to say, okay, how do we increase our penetration with this client, as an example, right? Get more wallet share from this client. So that's that kind of stuff. Or if I'm sitting with a colleague and trying to understand how I can help that colleague be successful. My personal mission that I established probably about now 15 years ago or so when I first took on leadership role was I want to make sure that I enable people to achieve whatever they believe their potential is, and in certain cases more than what they believe their potential is. And whether that comes in the form of where they're employed, whether it comes in the form of where they want to be employed, That is sort of my personal passion. I don't say that to people, but that's what sort of internally motivates me. What keeps me grounded is my lovely wife. I think I've known her since I was 16. She's the only one I've dated. If she were here, she would tell you that she's the only one who would be ready to date me, but that's a whole different conversation. But she's very honest with me, and she will tell me like when I'm saying things or doing things that are not me, or when she believes that I have a higher opinion about something than I should. So I think she's the one who sort of keeps me grounded.
I love that answer, and something you and I have in common. My wife and I, we met when we were 15. So
you have me beat again, Scott.
So
many of you don't know that Scott and I have worked out together, and he made sure that I was keenly realizing that he was beating me in every workout.
That's not true. The working out part is true, but the other part is not true.
I'm taking some creative license.
There
here,
you
Scott.
are. Yeah, that's right. I'll edit all of this. Rohit, I have one more question for you.
Yes.
Let's talk about your legacy. Right?
Okay.
Your legacy here at Crawford, and how you see yourself, or how you want others in this company, present and future, to see you. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, first, I would say that I think we all are here for a certain period of time, and no matter how important we believe we are, the world moves on, right? I think there's a phrase that I've heard from someone that says that the graveyard is full of people who thought that they mattered. Right. So I think what I want to leave with is not so much whether that's my legacy or not, but I want to leave the organization better than how I found it, right? That's obviously every leader wants to do that. And then I want people to remember that we changed the trajectory of this organization from a growth perspective, from a culture perspective, from a brand perception perspective, from a customer centricity perspective, from a product perspective. So it's not so much the legacy, but I want to make sure that those are the areas that we're having impact in, or me and the team, because it's not me alone, are having an impact, and that impact stays with the company.
What a beautiful answer. What a way to end the chat. Rohit, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
To everybody watching, thank you so much for watching this episode, and stay tuned for future chats.
Thank you, man.
Are you ready? This is serious stuff.
All right,
these are
I'm
very.
ready. Do we need to turn Scott's shirt at all?
The wrinkles. I mean, we'll live with them. This is going to be episode 15, so I feel like I've just stopped caring how my shirt looks now.
I mean, someone who has a six-pack doesn't really have to worry about that.
If you were a potato,
okay.
How would you like to be cooked, and why?
French fry.
French fry?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me more.
It appeals to everybody.
Yes, it does. I want you to look directly into that camera.
Okay.
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 So give the camera.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Give the camera. What's this meeting could have been an email face? That's the face that you were giving me right now. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple on pizza, yes.
All the time?
Not all the time.
Okay. Does this spark or invoke family arguments?
No, not at all. Actually, my daughter loves pineapple on pizza.
I was gonna just get you to say on camera just yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, of course, Scott.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just like positive
reinforcement about
you. And then
you.
I was gonna, when you leave, I was then gonna ask
the
questions that you wouldn't have said yes to. And then I was gonna cut them together.
Yeah, I think you can still do that.
If you were a kitchen appliance, which one would you be and why?
If I were a kitchen appliance, I would probably be the stove.
Stove, why?
Because I can turn up the heat when I need to and cook something really great when I have to.
Very nice. I like that answer. If you were a superhero.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you are in some ways, but let's Marvel superhero. What would your totally useless power be?
Look, I would love to be Iron Man.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reason I'd love to be Iron Man is because I think he's got a little bit of tech in him.
Yep.
Right? He's got a little bit of funny in him.
Yep.
He's got a little bit of romanticism in him, a weird kind of romanticism, but he's there. So that's what I would be. What would be my most useless superpower? I don't know. I got to think about that.
Yeah.
Because everything I can think about is
useful.
Feels pretty useful.
We can come back to it.
Yes, let's come back to it.
Because this is an important question that you answer.
You know, I've been thinking, I couldn't come up with one yet. So maybe by the end of of this interview, I might.
Yeah, I think maybe it's an oxymoron, because to have a superpower, it should be
useful, right? That's why it's called super.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.